Hey, folks, Erick Stakelbeck here. Welcome to the Watchman Newscast live stream. As you can see, I'm not in the studio like I would usually be. Yes, I am in a hotel. I'm on the road today giving a speech tonight. And man, I've got a lot to talk about, needless to say. We're going to break it down. The unprecedented, historic, in all the wrong ways, Iranian ballistic missile attack on Israel yesterday, the fallout, the dust settling now for a moment at least, because, folks, this is the calm after the storm, but right now is also the calm before the storm because Israel is, mark my words here, is going to respond this time in a magnitude much more serious than it did back in April, that last direct Iranian attack against the Jewish state. So that's coming, no doubt. First of all, to all my Jewish viewers around the world, Israeli viewers, we have many. Hey, Shana Tova, Happy New Year. Today is Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, and Iran conducts this attack, of course, on the eve of the Jewish New Year. Not a coincidence there, I don't think. But, folks, we've got a lot to discuss. Okay, first things first. Joe Biden, or what's left of him, declared today that he does not agree with the prospect of an Israeli attack on Iran's nuclear facilities. He actually said this out loud to reporters at the G7 summit. Talk about careless, talk about insanity. Even if you do disagree with your closest ally in the Middle East about the means it's going to take against the retaliatory means it's going to take against the Iranian regime, you don't telegraph that to the world, especially not to Iran, with a public statement showing daylight between you and Israel. Perhaps you do oppose a strike on Iran's nuclear facilities, and I don't think he should, but he surely does, knowing him and his foreign policy posture. Even if you do oppose it, that's a conversation that should be had between friends behind closed doors. You don't make that public. Why? Because it emboldens the Iranian regime. And the Iranian regime says, it's all bluster. Israel's not going to do anything. And when they're emboldened, they carry out attacks like they did yesterday. Folks, I can tell you that the reason Iran fired hundreds of projectiles at Israel for the second time since April 2024, the second time in the past 6 months, is because they believe that the Biden administration will not allow Israel to retaliate against Iran. They know that the Biden administration is weeping and gnashing its teeth and saying, don't escalate, ceasefire everywhere, here, there, everywhere. We just want a ceasefire. We want to appease. Please don't hurt us. We'll give you billions of dollars even. Iran, just please don't hurt us. Well, Israel's at the point, as Benjamin Netanyahu said in his UN General Assembly speech last week, enough is enough. But Iran is hedging its bets, and it's betting on, look, Israel responded in April with a limited strike against a sensitive military facility in Natanz, in the shadow of one of Iran's nuclear reactors in that city. Iran said, you know what, we can live with that. We don't like it, but we can live with that. No way, Iran's leaders have calculated, they're saying to themselves and amongst themselves, no way Biden would ever sign off on a strike against our nuclear facilities. He blusters and sends warships to the region and extra troops, but there's no teeth behind it. So they calculated yesterday, we can get away with this. Israel may hit us back in a limited fashion, but the U.S. will restrain Israel from really hitting us hard and potentially endangering the survival of our entire regime. Well, folks, I've been saying throughout the week, since the death of Sheikh Hassan Nasrallah 5 days ago, that evil number one is arrogant. Iran and its proxies again and again have shown their arrogance and their lack of belief that Israel is going to respond in a forceful manner. I don't know what else Bibi Netanyahu can do to show them he means business. Apparently, they're not getting the memo, even after Hezbollah's literally entire leadership, 99% of it, 95% of it, has been wiped out in the past 2 weeks alone, by the way. That enough and daring strikes in Beirut, in the heart of Beirut, in Hezbollah's stronghold, destroying Hezbollah's headquarters, taking out Nasrallah, etc. That alone should totally tell Iran, wow, the rules of the game have changed, if there ever were rules. The death of Ismail Haniyeh, Hamas's top overall leader, about 2 months ago on Iranian soil in Tehran, under the regime's noses, should have shown them, wow, Israel means business. What about the 2 strikes Israel conducted, 2 massive airstrikes against the Houthis in Yemen, the other Iranian proxy? Yet still, Iran doesn't seem to think that Israel means business. And I've said that evil is arrogant. You see the arrogance. But evil is also not very bright. Sometimes evil can be just plain stupid. We saw that with Hezbollah, with Hassan Nasrallah and Hezbollah leaders. Essentially, yeah, they're in their bunkers, but in a sense, they're hiding in plain sight. They're in the heart of Beirut. Even after Israel conducts strikes in Beirut, they stay in Beirut saying, they'll never hit us. Same with the Houthis. Israel strikes them and strikes them hard back in July after the Houthis attacked Israel in a deadly attack against Tel Aviv. Yet the Houthis come back for more, firing several ballistic missiles over the past few weeks until Israel carries out more devastating airstrikes last weekend. Evil is not very bright. It's slow to catch on. And the Iranian regime is at the top of that arrogant, not very bright, slow to catch on, evil pantheon. Well, I have a feeling that the response to yesterday's unprecedented ballistic missile onslaught against Israel will not be very pleasant for the Iranian regime, regardless of what Joe Biden wants or what he says. If you're Israel, and folks, let me know. I mean, we've got people around the world watching, thousands of people. I say we've got the most educated audience on YouTube. Love you guys, my watchmen and women on the wall. Let me know what you think of this. Let's start with a question here. We've got a lot to unpack. Is Joe Biden the ultimate lame duck right now? And if that is the case, should Israel basically say, I said the other day, go pound the sand you're laying on in Delaware on the beach? He's mostly been cited on the beach lounging over the past few months. Should Israel just say, okay, Joe, we respect what you're saying and we receive it, but we strongly disagree, and no, we're going to do what we think, not what you think, what we think is in the best interest of the state of Israel. Just as Joe Biden, I would hope, but I'm not optimistic about it, would do what's in the best interest of the American people in the United States. The leader of France, the leader of Britain, it goes on, should put their nation's interest first. And that's what Israel needs to do here. But what do you think? Biden, lame duck who can be ignored? Is Israel going to say, look, we have until January with him? Here's the problem with that thinking. And here's why I think Israel needs to strike sooner rather than later. And I'm not warmongering. I know we'll get some of those comments. What I am realizing is that Israel, if it strikes now, will prevent a future massive war and a nuclear-armed Iran and a nuclear war. Better to handle it, I think, considering that sooner rather than later, rather than kicking the can down the road until Iran has the bomb and its terror proxies have a nuclear umbrella and Israel is in nuclear crosshairs. But is the error, I don't want to say error, but is that faulty thinking in that, look, there's not a guarantee Donald Trump's going to win in November. And Kamala Harris, a Harris-Waltz administration, would be much, much more hostile to Israel than Joe Biden, who, by the way, is clearly more of a figurehead right now, as we see. And people like Harris and others in the administration are exercising more influence now. And they don't like Israel very much. So whether Trump wins or Harris wins in November, Biden's gone in January. And he's still, I mean, not disregarding how much he's actually there with it, but He is the commander-in-chief through January, regardless. If the bad guys are taking advantage of an incapacitated Joe Biden, maybe Israel should also, I don't want to say take advantage, but press the advantage they have over their enemies when there is a lame duck in the White House who can bark but can't do much else. Does Israel take that risk and say, you know what? A few months from now, Donald Trump's in office, a new sheriff in town, and we're going to do great things together, Bibi and Trump, like we were before 2020. Look, nothing's guaranteed. Who knows what's going to happen in the U.S. election in under 5 weeks from now? Does Israel hedge its bets? A lot to think about, right? Because Israel still needs to consider, even with a Joe Biden in office, Israel needs to consider the ramifications with the United States, in that the U.S. is still Israel's number one supplier of arms, even though Biden has consistently withheld arms over the years. Or I should say over the months, over the past year. So we want to break down, and I hosted a show, a 90-minute program, live special, Stakelbeck tonight on TBN, 90 minutes, no commercials. Woo! And I hopped on a plane to come out here and give a speech. It's been a whirlwind, but during those 90 minutes, we talked to some of the world's top Middle East experts, and all of them seem to think that an Israeli strike against Iran's nuclear facilities, regardless of what Joe Biden says, is indeed on the table. It's a new day here. The game has changed. We're going to break that down. We're going to break down also the campaign in Lebanon against Hezbollah is ramping up. Folks, on Rosh Hashanah, the first day here, the Jewish New Year, 8 Israeli soldiers were killed today in Lebanon. May their memory be a blessing. Please lift their families up, their loved ones in prayer. 8 Israeli soldiers killed in Lebanon. Although Hezbollah has been decimated in the past few weeks, no one said a ground invasion would be a cakewalk. Obviously, it's not going to be. And it's going to be a tough fight. But it's a fight Israel must wage and a fight Israel must win, and they will. But the weaker Iran becomes, the weaker its proxies become by extension. We want to break this down, the possibility of a strike against Iran's nuclear facilities. What do you think? Would Israel dare do it? Should they do it? What do you think? Hey, quick reminder before we move on here, that 90-minute special I mentioned, I forgot to add, you can watch it right now at TBN Plus. Just go to TBN Plus, the TBN app, and it's there, 90 minutes. And Pastor Jack Hibbs joined us with spiritual encouragement. Really, really strong show last night with an outlook on, okay, what comes next? How will Israel respond? That's where we're at now. Second reminder for you, if you like what you're hearing and you like current events, news out of the Middle East and Israel chiefly from an unapologetically biblical perspective, hey, be sure to subscribe. Click the notification bell so you get alerts every time a new video is posted. Folks, we are under 2,000 subscribers away now from 1 million overall. I think we're about 1,700 away. And we've got, 998 plus thousand subscribers now. So if we could get a few more and hit that 1 million number, that's a goal we set for our team. Not for our glory, but because we want to get the message out there. God has given us this platform, and we want to maximize it and get a message of biblical truth out there for such a time as this. We'd love if you could subscribe. Crazy number, too. I've repeated this a few times, but some 72% of our regular subscribers, or our regular viewers, are not subscribed. I don't know why, but let's change that. Just click the subscribe button. It's absolutely free. We'd love if you could do that. And also, we have a great partner, once again, for today's live stream, our good friends at Meir Panim. Hey, folks, talk about a time to support Israel. Again, yesterday was the largest ballistic missile attack in world history. Close to 200 fired by Iran. Thankfully, we saw the hand of God, I believe, once again, just as we did in April 2024. When there was minimal damage yesterday, an onslaught, waves of ballistic missiles, yet damage was only minimal. Thank God. No Israelis killed. A few wounded running to bomb shelters. One Palestinian man sadly killed by shrapnel that fell in Jericho from one of these Iranian missiles. But folks, the largest ballistic missile stockpile, strike, I should say, in history, and not one Israeli was killed, and the damage was very minimal. Yes, the IDF said today that some military bases were struck yesterday, but again, minimal damage. This is a miracle. April 2024 was also a miracle. Over 300 projectiles fired on that day. 99% of those were intercepted. Many were intercepted yesterday. Many fell in open fields. Some got through, but again, minimal damage. Any death is horrific, but only one person killed in a 200-strong ballistic missile onslaught. I think Israel will take that result. So you see the hand of God. The God of Israel, I believe, is going ahead of his people. And he's helping to, he doesn't have to help. He's fighting the battle. And Israel's enemies, they're still, they see time and time again, since the modern miraculous rebirth of Israel in 1948, you see God's hand, just completely improbable victories and operations again and again and again. And they seem to think it's all coincidence because they're blinded, folks, by a demonic rage, a demonic evil hatred. They can't see through it. They can't see clearly what you and I, as if you're a believer like me, what I see clearly as a follower of Jesus, someone who has the Holy Spirit. That's called discernment. It doesn't take a brain surgeon to see, in my estimation, that Israel's not just another nation. And the rebirth of Israel in 1948 was not just a blip on the radar screen, just a happy coincidence, or unhappy, if you're Israel's enemy, coincidence of history. No, no, no. There's much more to it. This is spiritual. And the God of Israel is moving. And Mayor Panim, who I mentioned a minute ago, let me finish telling you about him, our partner for today's live stream. We've been partnering with Mayor Panim for years now. Folks, an organization I believe very strongly in, because first and foremost, they're doing God's work. And if you watch me, we don't partner with many organizations here, but when we do, they're going to be blessing the land of Israel and doing kingdom work. That's Mayor Panim. Listen, incredible. Rosh Hashanah starting today, right? The high holidays are upon us. Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot. Incredible soup kitchens and assistance to Israel's neediest, Israel's most vulnerable. You might say, well, soup kitchen. No, this is another level. This is the highest quality food and shelter and supplies that Mayor Panim provides to Holocaust survivors, to impoverished children, to IDF reserve soldiers, to people who've lost loved ones in the war over the past year. That's what Mayor Panim does. It's israelcharity.org. Fulfilling the biblical mandate when you stand with Mayor Panim to stand with Israel. Laid out in Genesis 12:3 very clearly. Israelcharity.org. Some numbers for you here to give you an idea of the need as the high holidays are here. We have 100,000 displaced families in the north and the south, displaced because of rockets and war. We have 100,000 IDF reservists. They've left their families. 2.6 to fight. 2.6 million Israelis living in poverty. 2.6 million. 1 in 3 Holocaust survivors suffering in poverty and loneliness. At this time of year, the most important time of the year for the Jewish people, the high holidays. Here's what Mayor Panim's doing and what you can help them do. They're supplying 30,000 pantry boxes filled with symbolic holiday foods like apples, honey, challah bread, 2 million shekels worth of prepaid grocery cards, and 25,000 holiday meals and care delivered to displaced families, Holocaust survivors, and IDF soldiers on the front lines. Folks, this is good stuff. Check them out, israelcharity.org. Mayor Panim, I highly, highly recommend them, needless to say, israelcharity.org. Okay, nuclear facilities. We've reported here in the newscast time and time again over the past few years, just judging by even the UN's estimations, that Iran is extremely close to a nuclear weapon. And a lot of people comment and they say, Stacks, this is kind of like the boy who cried wolf. Everyone's saying they're close, they're close. They're enriching uranium at such and such a clip. They're close. They're ready to break out, and it never happens. Some have compared the Iranian nuclear crisis to the Cuban Missile Crisis, only in slow motion. Folks, this has been going on since the turn of the century. where this is really in the 90s, the concern started to grow over Iran's nuclear program. Then 2001, especially after 9/11, more and more people were saying, uh-oh, they're serious. They want the bomb. They want the ultimate deterrent to any attack against their regime. And they've been working diligently at it with help from North Korea and others over the years. There's reported Russian help now being provided, perhaps, to Iran's nuclear program. That's on the table now. Russia has a quid pro quo relationship with the Iranian regime, where, look, Iran's supplying Russia with ballistic missiles and drones. They're not doing it out of the goodness of their hearts, folks. I can assure you that. What does Russia give in return? Nuclear assistance and know-how is a possibility. A few years ago, that would have been unlikely. Now everything's on the table. Expect the unexpected in this gathering storm that we're living in. But enriching uranium, I think the last we heard was an 82% clip, close to military grade. We could get in the weeds about it, folks. Just know this. If they choose to break out, that's the key question, right? If they choose to break out, they can break out relatively clear. Some have said within a week or two, they're there. And you're seeing perhaps an Iranian nuclear test. Who knows? And mentally, they're all in. They have chosen to break out mentally. They want the bomb. That's not a question. The question is timing. If we break out, what happens? That's their question. And that's the hesitancy. But I got to tell you, now that Hezbollah is really on its heels, I think it's changing Iran's calculus, perhaps. Why do I say that? Hezbollah, remember, there's a reason we've called them the crown jewel of Iran's empire, their ring of fire that surrounds Israel on all sides. Hezbollah has been Iran's insurance policy. If Israel attacks Iran's nuclear facilities, Iran unleashes Hezbollah. Well, now there's not much of Hezbollah to unleash. Yes, over the past several days, I know Hezbollah is still firing dozens of rockets at northern Israel and even to points in central Israel. I get it. But this is not the Hezbollah of 3,000 rockets per day, which many feared. Let's just say that. Leadership decimated, rocket launchers, many taken out, many of their precision-guided missiles taken out over the past 2 weeks alone. So an organization that Iran spent 42 years building up has been decimated in 2 weeks. That's the sad reality for Iran. And now, if Israel's not looking over its shoulder at Hezbollah right now and saying, uh-oh, if we attack Iran's nuclear facilities, we have to contend with Hezbollah as well. And I said all along, look, if Israel's going to strike those nuclear facilities, they may have to preemptively strike Hezbollah as well. They're fighting on two fronts if that happens. Well, that front, that northern front's not what it was at this point. So Israel might say right now, you know what? This is a unique window, and that Stakelbeck Tonight special we did last night, we talked about this. This is a unique window that we have to strike now Iran's nuclear facilities. We may get Kamala Harris in January. We may not get an Iranian ring of fire this week. I mean, Hezbollah reeling in disarray right now, weakened. This is the time to do it, they could say. So, folks, I think everything is on the table right now. Certainly, the oil infrastructure is on the table for Israel to strike that in Iran. Certainly, the nuclear facilities, again, on the table to be struck, no doubt. It's all on the table, folks. The page has turned, and not in a good way for the Iranian regime. Know that. So we wait. And we see what Israel is going to do. What do you think? Is this a unique golden opportunity that may not come again to strike Iran's nuclear facilities? And if that happens, then what are we looking at? How does Iran respond? We haven't seen much of a capability to respond in any significant fashion over the past two attacks. Not respond, I should say carry out significant attacks over the past two times. But if the nuclear facilities are struck, what happens then? I leave that to you, folks. And I see Iran cleaving closer to nation states like Russia and Turkey, no doubt. And we're moving into uncharted prophetic waters. Let's just say that. And we will come to you with breaking updates if and when Israel responds in the next few days. Is Israel going to make Iran sweat it out and wait a while, or will Israel respond right away? We don't know. But keep it right here for updates. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Pray for God's iron dome over Israel right now, for wisdom for Israel's leaders. And until tomorrow, God bless you. And remember, never hold your peace.
Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the Watchman Newscast. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an upload, and tap the bell icon so you're notified every time a new video is posted. And don't forget to share your thoughts, insights, and comments below. Thanks for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow.